Good morning and welcome to the How to Become a Registered Historian presentation. We want to thank our sponsor, the William G. Pomeroy Foundation, for sponsoring this, both the conference and this session. They've been a wonderful partner through all of this, and we're very fortunate to have them. Today's presentation is put on by the Town of Hector historian, Sandra Bradford. She's also the chairman of the Registered Historian Committee. Karen Osburn, City of Geneva historian, and Mary Cascone, the Town of Babylon historian. So what we're going to do now is we're going to thank the Pomeroy Foundation one more time, and then we're going to get out of this ad, and we're going to let Mary share her screen. So let us get to that. Go ahead, Mary.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Real quick before they start, same rules apply as before yesterday. If you have a minute, please, as you're already doing, say your name and the town you represent in the chat box. We ask that you hold all questions until the end of the presentation, and we'll have our moderators take care of that. And without further ado, I think our first speaker is Sandy. So Sandy, go ahead.
Good morning. We're going to start by introducing ourselves and why we became registered historians. As you were told, my name is Sandra Bradford of Town of Hector. For those who don't know where Hector is in Schuyler County, it's the southeast end of Seneca Lake. I have been historian for Hector since 1997, and I came into the APHNYS shortly after. Actually, it was APHNYS and Cheney's at the time. My first meeting, they were discussing conjoining both groups and becoming APHNYS. So I was in kind of from the beginning. A couple years later, they started talking about this program, becoming a registered historian. And there was a lot of, controversial talk for and against, and why do we want to do this? So when it started, I, asked the same question, why? And then why not? I had been historian for just a little over 3 years, and I started putting together a file. I was curious to find out if I had done enough stuff to actually become a registered historian, and if not, what I needed to do to complete it. So after starting the file,
Turned off your speaker.
okay, can you hear me? That was strange. So after I put my file together, I found out I actually had done enough stuff, and so I submitted it. But after submitting it, I found out that the committee was going through restructuring. I actually had my application handed back to me, and I thought, okay, this is strange. But I persevered, and when they got their organization up and running, I resubmitted it. And I did that in 2006, and actually was given my certificate in 2007. If you can see, that's what the certificate looks like. And on my lapel, this is the pin. I don't know if you can zoom in on that. We also give a pin that you can wear. So my point to all this is, if you submit your application and things aren't exactly right, we will work with you, and we will continue to work with you until you succeed. And I will next turn this to Karen.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Karen Osburn, and I am the City of Geneva historian since 2012. I decided to become a registered historian because I was urged to do so by some of my colleagues. Um, it was a great way for me to prove to myself what I had accomplished. I didn't think I had enough material to apply for a registered historian, but turns out that I did. And it was also a way to legitimize my position with the city council. Um, they're not always in small cities great about wanting to fill positions if they think they have to pay things. So for them to be able to see that I had gone through the work to become a registered historian, I think it made a difference with some of the city council members. Um, I found that it has been rewarding. I've gotten questions from people all over the place and have gotten to meet a lot of very interesting people through the questions that I've had, been asked. So I highly recommend it. It's not an arduous or onerous process, and I think it does you a lot of good because it refreshes your memory of the things that you've done. So I'm going to turn that over to Mary.
Good morning. I am Mary Cascone. I am the historian for the town of Babylon here on the South Shore of Long Island. I have been the town historian since 2014. And one of the reasons that I chose to become a registered historian was that I followed in the steps of my predecessor, who had been a registered historian. And I must say that after years of researching, writing, and presenting, it was nice to have the experience of putting it all together and reflect on the things that I had accomplished. It's also a wonderful opportunity to be recognized by your peer historians and share the accomplishment with my local historical community. So thank you. Go back to Sandra and we'll start the presentation.
Okay, so APHNYS Registered Historian. Mary, can you?
Here we go.
Okay, so you may ask, as a lot of us have, why should you become a registered historian? It recognizes the public historian as a professional, that is you. It demonstrates the importance of lifelong learning, formally documents your achievements in this position, and gives you the opportunity to promote what you do to your appointing official and municipality. Next. The history of the program. So the Board of Trustees approved the program in 2000 to recognize public historians who show significant accomplishment and proven capability. First effort produced 14 registered historians. You can find a list of historians available on the APHNYS website. So do I qualify? Yes, if you have been duly appointed public historian or deputy for 3 years. And yes, if you are an active paid member of APHNYS. Yes, if you have attended some regional or state conferences or can provide a reason for not attending, because we also understand your budgets are so diverse. And yes, if you can demonstrate your qualifications by documenting education and work experience. Next, the application process. First, obtain the registered historian's application packet by downloading it from your APHNYS website, or you can contact the APHNYS office. Be sure to use the form dated for the submission period, and you'll find the date for this in the bottom, on the bottom of the front page. Next. Also, to let you know, the 2021 application is available now on the website. So tips to begin. Review your application packet to see exactly what is asked for. Meaning of the word document. Documentation is anything written, drawn, presented, taught, or something that is clearly shown that you have done. Be clear and concise in your responses. Make copies of diplomas, registrations, and certificates. Do not send us your originals because we will not mail this back to you. We will keep the application for our records. Work experience means accomplishments as a public historian in the 4 parts of your historian's job. Nothing before you became a historian, just during your appointed time. Next. So part 1 is you and your municipality. So provide a demographic information. It helps us to place your work in the context of your community. Identify your formal education and provide the appropriate documentations, such as diplomas, certificates, and registrations. Your continuing education. List attendance at workshops, seminars, and other continuing education experience, webinars, whatever you have done. Provide proof by sending a copy of your registration for APHNYS conferences or regional meetings, or a copy of a class registration. Or please submit your reasons why you haven't been able to attend any of the conferences. And now I'll turn the time over to Karen for the next part.
Thank you, Sandra. Okay, so the work experience checklist, there are 4 parts of the public historian's job as defined by local government historian's job description. You want to make sure that you check all of that. The application lists them very well. So you want to make sure that you fill out all of those things. And you want to check that you've done, check all the things you've done, but choose and attach only the best 2 examples of each of the 4 parts. For example, what you want is at the end, you want to have a maximum of 8 work samples, and you can't use the same example more than once. So if you have history-related workshops and seminars, you can use that once. Say you went to a particular workshop at your region. You can use that more than once, but then you can't necessarily use that for an education course also. You need to have different ones for each thing. Next. Part 2 of your work experience as a public historian, and the instruction sheet shows examples and proof of how to number them. For some of you who have done grant work, what I did is I laid out my experience in 4 piles, 4 separate piles, took the best of each one, and then I numbered it, and it shows you how to number it. It's like you would number something, say area 1.1, area 1.2, and you want to put that in a bold lettering right on your example. If you have questions, please contact one of us before you submit your application. Next. You want to provide 2 samples of your research and writing. For instance, if you've written a newspaper article, if you've written a chapter in a book, if you've written a book, an exhibit text, brochure, or a website, you want to make sure that you include those. And the sample that's shown is a writing sample of a magazine article or a newspaper, and you should number it, say, 1.1 in the upper right-hand corner. Area 2 is teaching and public presentations. You want to provide like a presentation to a community group, a walking tour, say 2.4 is a presentation to a community group, 2.8 might be an illustration for creating a historical exhibit. Be sure to number each example in the upper right-hand corner. Next. Area 3 is historic advocacy, and you should provide samples of working on a cultural resource inventory. Sample 3.1 would be you conducted a cultural resource inventory. Sample 3.3 would be preservation of records, for instance. If you have gone to great lengths to preserve a specific collection, that's very helpful too. Next. Area 4 is organization and advocacy. And you should provide samples of organizational or outreach work that you've done. For instance, if you have conducted a commemoration of a historical anniversary, or you've lobbied for the promotion of community history, if you've been a part of your town's, say, centennial or bicentennial anniversary, that would work. Next. And I think we're turning that over to Mary.
All right, thank you. So now that you've gone through your application, you want to put it all together. Please be sure to complete the application completely. Missing parts of the application will make it difficult to review. Make copies of your original documents like diplomas and registration certificates because they won't be returned to you. And be sure that you've numbered your examples, your example areas clearly, and use the application checklist. The packet includes the checklist to help you ensure that you're submitting all your required documents. Please sign and date your application, and you can submit the application by mail to the mailing address or email for our chairperson, Sandra Bradford. And who reviews your application? Well, that's the three of us that you've been hearing from today. As she mentioned, Sandra's been a part of this committee for several years, and Karen and I are new this year. We each reviewed this year's applications, and although separated by hundreds of miles, we were able to discuss the applications together via video conference, and I expect we will continue that format. Becoming a registered historian. At the annual conference, the second evening is typically the awards dinner, and new registered historians are recognized with the reading of a short bio and receive a certificate and a lapel pin. For me, it was a proud moment. The registered historian status demonstrates your achievement in preserving local history and gives you something to brag about to your history committee, historical community, and certainly to elected officials who keep appointing you as historian. Your role as a registered historian. Your work does not stop once you receive the registered historian status. You are expected to continue the work and education that qualified you for this status and be an active member of APHNYS. For me, this has included being a conference presenter and a member of this committee. As a registered historian, you are poised to inform the public about the role of historians across New York State, in fact, benefiting all of us. Thank you for your interest in becoming a registered historian. Being part of our 8:30 a.m. presentation certainly shows that you're interested. You may direct your questions to Sandra Bradford by email, as noted here. 2021 applications must be postmarked or emailed by July 1st of next year, 2021. And on behalf of the committee, we hope that you will take the time to complete an application and be recognized as an APHNYS registered historian. You may surprise yourself that all the work that you've done adds up to a nice application packet. And we look forward to learning about all the wonderful work that you've been doing. So I think we're going to be going back and opening up to questions.
Feel free now if you want to turn off your mic and ask a question or type them into the chat. Go ahead and do that. Can you submit a link to a video of a presentation or program you have done before? I'm assuming that means this person's put it on YouTube. You want to respond to that, iPhone?
I don't see why not. It would, uh, as long as you send it to us and we can see it, I don't
Yeah,
see it would be a problem.
yeah, if we can access it. But, we'll let you know if we can do that.
Yeah. Um,
So
you
we're
could,
going to go with affirmative. As long as they can actually watch the video, you're good.
yeah. It wouldn't hurt though to send a hard copy of an introduction to the video so that we can have something to mark and put in a file.
Okay.
Point.
I'm in my second year as a historian. How many years should a historian have before applying? I would think you should be somewhat seasoned.
Yes, I would start your file now
Mhm.
while you're thinking about it, and start your collection now. You have to have been a historian for 3 years.
Mhm.
So at the end of your 3rd year, you can submit your application. Any other questions?
Yeah, can I ask a question, please? Is that 3 years cumulative for different municipalities? Because first I was a village historian for 9 years, now I'm a town historian.
Yeah,
And it's within the same town.
yes,
The village is within
Yeah.
the town.
yeah,
I would think so.
yeah. Just, let us know which submission, which town, or which which one
Well,
you,
there's different projects that were
Yeah.
done as
Yeah.
village, and now there's new projects as town.
right. Yeah, so just verify which was village and which was town.
Okay.
There's another question here. Can I use work I did as town historian for the comprehensive plan review?
Why not?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, I don't see a reason why you couldn't.
Which category would that fit into? Would that be advocacy?
Hmm. I would,
I think so. It would be similar to a cultural resource inventory.
mhm. Yeah,
Yes, I'd put it under area 3. I'm not quite sure what the sub point is, but check the area 3.
There's in each area there is other, so you can also put it under other.
yeah.
Over the years, I have done dozens of presentations, but not documented. Am I out of luck?
I think that if you have copies of the notes or maybe the notice for presentation, sometimes there's a flyer for something that was done at a library. I think that if we know, I would look for that first.
Consider also a thank you note. If you did a presentation for a group and they sent you a thank you note, or if you can get a letter from them saying that you had presented to them.
You may also be able to get that stuff from minutes. So if you present at a library, it actually might be in the library minutes for the year.
Yeah.
True, yeah.
The other suggestion I would have was just to do an internet search for yourself in the program too, because everyone's advertising their programs online now, so you might be able to find an advertisement that the organization presented that you didn't even know about at the time.
Yep.
We got one more question here. Feel free to keep sending them in. Where would I look for courses that I could take online to further my historical studies? I can answer that real quick. The New York State Archives has a number of classes available that help in the implementation of your job. Stuff like how to document photographs and stuff like that. The Library of Congress also has some. I don't know if you guys have some that you recommend.
Your Genealogical Society of New York State, they put out webinars.
I can also add the DIPSNY, the Documentary Heritage Program of New York State, has free programs available. The American Association for State and Local History also have programs. So if you're a member, those are free. Well, I guess they're not free, but they're inexpensive, most of them. So those are good places to check too.
Does the National Council on Public History have stuff, Christine?
The National Council on Public History does not do as many training courses, but that is another good place because they provide announcements of organizations that are doing those things. The other thing is your regional library councils often have programs as well that would count.
That's what I was going to mention. Here on Long Island, we have our Library Resource Council that offers, they've been doing a great job with online webinars and such. So check with them. They usually have great ones about documenting photographs, using new online tools.
And not for nothing, look for the regions around you as well. I know for our regional meetings, when we have them in certain areas that's near another region's border, we tend to draw some people from those other borders, from outside our area. So look at other regional meetings. You might find something you want to learn that's beneficial to you there.
Right.
Yeah.
How
And
much
especially
weight
right
is given?
now, when so many people are doing things online. I've been attending, Mary, I've taken a lot of courses from the Long Island Library Resources Council, you know, from up
Yes.
here in Rochester, because they're great.
How much weight is given to formal education?
You have to have a certificate for either a GED, high school graduation, or your college education certificates.
What other examples of organization and advocacy? I did not save APHNY conference registration forms, but probably can find my vouchers submitted to the town. Is that okay?
Vouchers are fine.
Vouchers are fine. You may be able to contact APHNYS too. We may have that information as well, depending on how long ago you went. So it's worth sending an email to the secretary, Christine?
Secretary, yeah, I think Will would be the one, or the treasurer too, Zach Studenroth.
Okay. And you can find those contacts on the APHNYS website. I've written history for permanent signs to be installed along the Shenango Canal and worked with other organizations on grants, choosing a sign company, estimates, etc. Would that be part of advocacy?
Okay. I think that falls under area 3, historical preservation and advocacy. 3.4 is managed a marker program. So I think that's similar.
And the writing the grant would probably fall under number 4, because there's a grant application is under that one.
Yeah, 4.4.
Worked with another, even if you work with another group, definitely.
I just want to jump back up. The person that was asking about the vouchers, they asked the other examples of organization and advocacy. I'm looking at the application here. So section 4 includes commemorating a historical anniversary, participating in a civic or patriotic observance, organizing a fundraiser, writing a grant application, lobbying for developing legislative initiatives, serving as a consultant to a historical organization, and serving on a committee or a study group regarding your community's history. So do take a look at the application. Might be, once you read the descriptions, you might be able to take some of the things that you've done and find where it fits into the categories.
My college education is in nutrition. The box about college courses taken would be empty for me as I have none that are history. Is that okay?
You would submit what you went to college for, and it's okay if it wasn't history.
Any other questions? You got them here. This is the time to ask them.
Hi, ladies. This is Michelle. I think some people might be curious if you are available for advice along the way as they're completing their applications.
Yes, we are.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yay. Thank you.
I served as a president of the Genealogical Society for 5 years and then served on the County Historical Society board for 3 years. Both were before becoming a historian. Would they count for any of the blocks?
No, we're only looking for what you have done as a historian.
I'm curious, do you have any examples of things that were maybe a little out of the ordinary that you have seen on applications that maybe people might not be thinking about immediately?
I can't think any off the top of my head.
I would say one thing that isn't listed, but that I would think would work would be any kind of a walking tour that you've done, or tours outside, or that you've prepared, something of that nature.
Cemetery tours, all that fun stuff, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Sue Greenhagen did, they did a wonderful cemetery tour where they actually reenacted some of the people who were buried there.
She still does that if anybody's interested.
Yeah.
Let's see. I have no idea where my college and high school diplomas are. Should I send for my transcripts?
You can. We had a lady a few years ago. Her response was, "Do you know how many times I've moved and how old I am?" And I told her, you know, whatever you can find that indicates that you did graduate. She finally found the program for her graduation with her name listed on it, and whatever you can find.
And along those lines, if you have no continuing college education courses, is that okay?
That's okay.
And I think if I read that correctly, that for continuing education, they do not have to be college courses, right? It can be
No.
any form of continuing education.
Right.
And just to add to this, I couldn't find my college diploma. I wrote to them, and for $10, they sent me a copy. So.
Real quick, getting back to some of the oddball things, on the Sue Greenhagen note, some of you might remember, I don't know, in the last 5 years at the statewide conference, a gentleman named Sheriff Bonnie came and spoke at the statewide conference with one of the Loomis gang members. So if you do reenactments like that, that would also be something that would work.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that we're in the transition from, I guess, our old APHNYS website to the new one. But there, if you go to the original one, aphnys.org, under manual, the heading, the historian's manual, there's some great information under the heading of how to fulfill your responsibilities about teach local history, develop public presentations, research, write, and publish. Reviewing these might give you some ideas of where it can fit into the 4 areas for your application. We're going to try and link some of these to the application packet itself online. So that's a good resource to take a look at as well.
All right, now they're flowing in. Let's see. I would believe documenting the accomplishments on your annual historian report would be a good place to put items for future reference and use.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which
I
brings
think
us
you
back
have to show that you filed an annual report, your annual reports also.
Yeah, that's a good point. You do
On
have
the
to file an
application.
annual report with your governing body, and you should, in theory, send one to, if you have a county historian. It's always good to let them know what you're doing, and then to Devin. Devin always wants them as well. Next question. What if someone doesn't have a high school graduation or GED?
That's a good question. I don't know if it's mandatory that you have a high school. It is on the application. But it does say circle whatever you've completed. So make a notation of what you have completed in there, to what grade level. I know my dad never went past the 8th grade, but that was back before schools were consolidated too.
What if your college degree work is still ongoing, but the transcript is available for classes completed?
That's fine.
Mhm.
Basically, what we're looking for is that you are continuing some form of education throughout your life. It's not mandatory that you have specific things. We're all different. We're all diversified, but we want to see that you are continuing to learn in the area that you're working in.
Christine, do you want to take Mary Ellen's question?
Is filing an annual report only required to the local municipality? I would have to go back and look at how the law is written, but you really should be filing your annual report to the state historian as well. And he actually has created a form that makes it easy to do that. You can use the form if that's easier for you, but if you have another format that you're already preparing for your government, you can use whatever you've already prepared. You don't have to do it twice.
Okay, excuse me, Christine, but is the primary filing responsibility for filing to the local municipality?
Let me see if I can pull up the law.
And I'll tell you why. When I was village historian, I'm sorry if this is off track, but maybe this would come under advocacy at some point, because I know we were talking yesterday about the historian's position becoming a political football. The village mayor claimed that I didn't file reports with the state, but I did file every year a report and a reappointment request letter with the village. So they knew everything that I was doing, even though they never attended any of the events. So I'm just curious, and it's a little bit off topic here, I'm sorry, but because it was brought up, I would wonder if you can clarify that.
Yeah. I'm trying to go ahead and move on to some other questions. I'm trying to pull up the law right now to see if I can clarify this for you. So let me come back to you when I have an answer, if you want to.
And can I just add one thing to that? The other thing that's problematic, of course, is that, and I mentioned this to Devin once, the village reorganization meetings are in April, most of them, whereas the towns are in January. And so he looks for a report at the end of December or January, whereas when you're a village historian, you're in the middle of your term.
And to that point, I don't think Devin would argue about when you're filing a report, so long as you're submitting something annually, whether that be, you know, my budget runs July through June too.
Right,
So
cities are different too. Yes.
Right, yeah. So I
Well,
think
but-
so long as you're
so I
filing
guess-
annually, you're okay.
I guess my question is, who's the primary responsibility for filing to? So you can, I'm sorry, go on with this other.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm reading through the law again right now to see if I can get clarification. So go ahead if there are other questions, and then I will come back when I have any.
Is there other questions? Let me ask you this. If somebody takes part in the local History Day events, would that qualify, and where would it go?
Yes, that would qualify.
Mhm.
Where would that go, though? Because I don't really see an evaluation section.
I would put it under 2, public presentations, if they're actually participating.
Well, no, so History Day for historians is more often, History Day is the kids thing. So
Oh,
if you're
okay.
the one of the judges on a History Day type event,
Oh, that's different, yeah.
yeah. And Devin has really pushed historians to get active when possible on that.
We
Well,
don't
if
have that in our
Serving
town.
as a consultant to a historical organization?
That is the question we're asking.
Yeah, no, I think I would put it there.
Yeah.
Because it's organized by another group. Yeah. Or that's serving on a committee or a study group regarding your community's history.
Mhm.
Or even 2.9, put it under other and
Mhm.
clarify.
Yeah.
Is there an educational component? Because don't judges sort of guide in their feedback, like sort of coaching the kids to an extent?
It's a good question. I haven't taken part. We don't have one to speak of in my region. If anyone has taken part in a History Day event and wants to chime in, feel free to.
We had explored it and tried to get a program off the ground with some local teachers here in Rochester. We didn't actually make it through a whole cycle of up to the contest stage, but that was my experience, is that it's very much treated as an educational experience for the kids, and the judges are supposed to be interacting with them and engaging them in questions about their projects as a way to kind of reinforce their presentation skills and help them learn by teaching the judges, essentially. So I would see it under education.
Okay.
I just, I put something in the chat box. I found it on the state historians website, duties and functions of New York State's local government historians. And there is a section, annual reports. Local government historians are mandated by section 57.09 of Arts and Cultural Affairs Law to report annually to their appointing authority and to the state historian.
Thank you, Mary.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I
But
just,
then that begs the question, if you report to your municipality, why wouldn't they forward that to the state?
Because they probably don't know how.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And it's just one more thing for them to do and they don't want to.
Well, that's what you're paying them for, though.
I see,
They're being paid in most cases. The historian isn't.
I see another question posted about how many applications does the committee review in a typical year? We've had as few as 2 and as many as 12. It all depends on how many people have completed their packet or are interested. This year we had 2 who completed their application and will receive their certificate soon. How many registered historians are working in New York? Matt, do you know?
I don't, but I think you have the list on the website and you can go look.
There should be the list on the website.
Yeah.
There's about 125 on this list.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know. I think we've gone through that list. That includes the folks that are no longer with us as well,
Yeah.
I think.
I think we're up to about 129. And then with the 2 this year, it'd be 131.
but we're not clear on how many of those are actually still serving.
Right. We've lost a few over the years.
We're going to take one more question and then we're going to start getting ready for the next presentation. Does anyone else have a question?
Just a comment. The comment that somebody made about the comprehensive plan and updating plans, I think that's the most important input that you can get in before a municipal government, because then they have to adopt the plan and then it's all there in black and white for them.
Okay, I want to say thank you to Sandy, Karen, and Mary, who behind the scenes put in a lot of effort. We actually recorded this and didn't work out very well, but they were really amazing to come back on here and do this live for us. We are greatly appreciative of that. And we will see you in about 15 minutes at Historic Markers and Primary Sources with Bill Sowers, Susan Hughes, and myself, Susan Hughes of the William G. Pomeroy Foundation, and myself. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.